Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. So, a couple little tidbits about this episode. Tracy, Tracy wants to sue the parents of that Garth kid, and Brooklyn hangs up the phone. I guess like on the principal or whatever, and it's like you need to sit there and stop doing that. You need to stop second guessing me and this, that, and the third. And I'm kind of just like, I was like, I don't see that as such a bad thing. That's what I'm going to say. I don't necessarily see that as such a bad thing because there are parents of those kids that bully these other students that sometimes generally do not care. Like, they really don't. And it's just one of those things where it's like, depending on what economic scale they're on, at the very least, a threat wouldn't hurt. I mean, listen, the fact that they just been letting their child just run buck wild up until this point, and most likely he's just going to get like maybe a week's detention or something like that, a slap on the wrist. Maybe having that lawsuit hanging over them, or just the fact that they could have been sued for God knows whatever Tracy was offering. Maybe it will instill some fear in those parents to instill some fear in that child about who he decides to sit there and bully at that point moving forward. So I'm kind of okay with it, or at the very least, a threat, a litigation. Um, Now, I guess Brooklyn's under a lot of stress of, getting it right with Violet because, that's not her child, and if she feels that she can't get it right with Violet, then how is she going to be able to get it right when, her and Chase have their own kids? So she talks to Olivia, and Olivia pretty much says the same thing that Tracy says later on. The reason why Tracy is going so hard as far as lawsuits and everything like that is because she feels she can't help Finn, she can't help Lulu. So if this is the only thing that she could sit there and do, she's going to, go hard for her. And yes, I get where some people listen to saying it's kind of over the top, but no, sometimes you need that lesson. That's what I'm going to sit there and say. And of course, Tracy, confirms that later on with Olivia. Um, when Tracy, she's like, hey, listen, yeah, I am actually doing all this because I can't do anything for the other people that I love. One of the people that she does sit there and talk to is Willow. And it's like, do you think that the school is going to sit there and try to protect themselves or do what's best for Violet? And Willow was like, yeah, most likely they're going to sit there and try to protect themselves. And given the treatment that Willow received when she was working at that private school, she already know the deal. Now, towards the end of the episode, Brooklyn gets a text from Chase that Finn, is coming home that same day. So now the question is, what do they do with the actor that plays Violet? I've heard rumors that, she's going to go on a little vacay or whatever, she's going to take some time off. But is this going to be some time off, or is this going to be permanent? One of the things that, when they decided to fire Michael Easton, did they really just not sit there and think, well, what are we going to wind up doing with Violet at this point? I mean, hell, one of her parents is on B&B at this point, and the other one, well, we don't know where he's at. So, what are they going to do with that? Now, while Laura's not there sitting with Lulu, Marty comes in. Marty's like, let's go for a walk or whatever to catch up and stuff. And one of the things that she noticed was Martin shaved his beard. And later on, we found out that he also decided to work on his accent. My theory is, of course, he got that same culture lesson from that annoying ass Finn chick. My theory is that the actors, him and the woman that plays Lois, maybe it was just kind of hard on them to sit there and keep that accent moving forward, to constantly keep doing that. And so, and the thing is, it's so weird because I didn't notice it. I didn't notice it at all. Other people in my live stream, they noticed. They were like, "Oh, what happened to his accent? It's gone," and everything like that. And it was like, that's why. He said that he did it, like he shaved his face and kind of dissed the accent or whatever for like a confidence booster because of Lucy and everything, and something about a joke about Kentucky Fried Chicken or something. Whatever, fine. Um, but as they're talking about that and about Lulu and everything, they come back and they see Cyrus sitting with Lulu. And Cyrus is like, well, that poor thing was just, she was just sitting there by herself. And I was like, you really just sit there and say poor Lulu was just sitting by herself? Bro, you do realize that you're the reason why she is sitting by herself in that bed. You know that, right? And at first, Laura's like, listen, you need to sit there and call before, you just come by and start seeing Laura or Lulu or me or anyone else. But then she thanks him for making sure that she wasn't sitting by himself. And I'm just like, I know, here's the thing. I know I keep sitting there saying this in every stream and every video, but for me, to have him just sit there knowing that she's only in that bed because of him, and having Laura be like, oh, well, okay, I want to thank you for just sitting with my daughter. It's like, and I know I cannot be the only person, but it's just every time I see it, I feel like it's just out of pocket. Now, one of the theories that people had about Isaiah, or at least the theory that I had about Isaiah, is the reason why he stopped, doing surgery. So when they're talking about Lucky and, kind of guessing if he stayed, if he left, and stuff like that, he says that the reason why he stopped, doing surgeries is because he had a patient die on him, which, honestly, to tell you the truth, I was like 98% sure that was the reason. So, after that, they talk a little bit more. I don't even remember what they were talking about after that. But the funny thing is, well, I don't know if it's really funny, but at some point, when Liz tells Dante that, we have some good news or whatever about Lulu, because, apparently he found the match, or she found the match, Lulu starts coding. So Dante and Liz run into the room, and they already see Isaiah working on her. And I'm just like, and that's another thing. We all guessed it that most likely he's going to be working at that hospital. If the actor decides to stay, he's going to be working at that hospital. And he just literally sat there and said, yeah, this is the reason why I don't do surgery. And even before, when he was with Lucky, he pretty much just had a hard pass on the whole, being a doctor or whatever. I guess, okay, to be fair, I already sit there and see the comments. It is different than, because he worked, the whole Hospitals Without Borders or whatever, so I guess it is a little bit different. Um, but I have this sinking feeling that he's going to be the one that's going to be performing the surgery. Oh, long story short, which we already kind of know, but GH confirmed it today, that Terry calls Sam and pretty much just like, you're a match for Lulu. I'm gonna try to keep this as short as possible. Last week, last Saturday actually, me and DC during our members live stream, during my members live stream, we had to talk about this. Pretty much it's like watching soap operas back then, some people could consider it to be a lot better because it was less surprises. I mean, there was more surprises. We didn't really know stuff. People weren't spoiling stuff. People weren't tweeting about stuff and things of that nature. And the thing is, we've been sitting there saying this from get go that most likely that Sam was a match. So finding out today really was not a shocker at all. It wasn't a shocker at all. And it's because so many people have been sitting there talking about it. Yeah, I know I've been one of them, but like I've been guessing. I've been guessing, but my point is that watching soap operas back then was a lot more fun in a sense that you could just be surprised. Watching it say and her say, "Oh, you're a match or whatever," and Sam being surprised, and I'm just like, "Man, I knew this." Like, and that's because of the internet. So I can see, a conversation having, and DC being like, "Yeah, watching soaps back then was a lot more better because you just didn't know." And moments like that is kind of proves his theory right. Now, I agree on a large. I agree in some senses, but in other senses, I'm kind of just like there's reasons why I do enjoy watching soap operas now, even with the internet, as opposed to not as opposed to being more surprised back then. Now, here's a silly ass scene. Drew's on the phone talking about I don't know ELQ or something like that. Willow comes in and Willow's like, "Oh, I was there looking for Michael, whatever. He's not here, so I'll just go and find him or whatever." And Drew is just like, "Wow, really can't stand being in the same room." I think Willow wants to sit there and hand Michael his car keys. So Drew's like, "Listen, I'm supposed to be meeting him soon or whatever. I'll just give it to him." And he puts out his hand, like, "Okay, just give me the keys." She puts the keys on the table. Well, move out. If you can't sit there and handle a simple exchange of this man giving you your husband's goddamn car keys, where you have to put it on the tape, you couldn't even put it in his hands, move out. You might as well just sit there and leave Port Charles at this point because this is just acidine on so many levels. Or here's an idea: confess your sins. There's a thought. You live in the same house. Anyway, at some point, Ned comes in there and Willow leaves, and Ned just has that look like, "Oh, was I interrupting you or whatever?" Michael comes in there. They talk about ELQ business. It's kind of boring for the most part, but Ned feels like he's getting frozen out because there's a point where Ned wants Drew and Michael to make a fast decision, or just to make a decision, and Drew and Michael don't say no. They're just like, "Hey, listen, we gotta wait to sit there and get the shares from Valentine. That's gonna take a little bit. So we don't have to make any decisions right now." And Ned just storms off like, "Oh, well, so much for you, so much for us being united." And he just storms off and he tries to vent to Olivia, but Olivia's like, "I got way too much stuff going on right now with the whole Lulu thing." So he's like, "Okay, cool. I handle it myself." He goes to get that PI to try to get evidence on Drew and Willow that they're up to no good. So she takes the case. While that's going on, Drew is in a sense trying to freeze out Ned and saying that listen, if when he wins the election, he'll give his votes to Michael and just to make sure that Michael runs the company and Ned doesn't for I don't know whatever reasons. I partly because I don't really care that much, but like whatever reasons, he don't want Ned running it. So that's going on. Also, out of nowhere, Cody wants to sit there and buy some sort of, I don't know, house or ranch or something. And that place costs $6 million. And so, Sasha's there and Cody's like, maybe I can sit there and get Tracy to, lend me the money. Listen, I get that she likes you, you know, friendship wise. You didn't know this woman that long. You think she's just gonna sit there and just hand you $6 million? Like, oh no, we're buddies. I'll do it. So he's like, yeah, I don't see that happening. And Sasha's like, don't give up on your dreams, and this, that, and the third. Tracy comes in there, and Tracy asks Sasha to do something. And long story short, Cody chickens out. Sasha's like, oh, that's probably a good idea. And maybe you should think about this as some sort of investment or something, because that's what it is. It's like this place is big enough to hold like horses and like a whole little stable thing going on. So that's what he wants to do, and I think the place that it is, I think it's like a place that he grew up at or something like that. I don't know. His backstory is very. I don't want to sit there and so all over the place, but I'm not even really too sure. Also, Kevin is in this episode too, and he also gets the word from Laura, who gets it from Liz, that they found the donor. They didn't sit there and say who the name was, but they found who the donor was, which of course everyone knew, and their mother, and that was Sam. Now, the only other part was Dante sitting there telling Sam that he almost crossed the line as far as giving his father a heads up. And we all know why he gave his, wanted to give his father a heads up, and it a lot of that had to do, well, some of it had to do with just his love for his father, and the other had to do with Rocco, which he's also feeling really guilty about because he felt like he made him a promise that he couldn't keep, that he lied to him. It's a shitty position to be in, no matter which side, no matter which way you go about it. If you just tell him the honest truth, or if you sit there and lie to him, to give him a little bit of hope. Either way, it's yeah, it's a shitty position to be in. Now, I think that's about it for the most part. If I forgot anything, write it in the comment section below. Tonight, I will not be doing the live stream because, unfortunately, I have to wake up at just a very ungodly time in the morning. And, it's already like 6:40, nearly 7 o'clock, and I still got two more soap operas to watch. So, with that being said, and even if I was done, still got to wake up at an ungodly time in the morning. So, yes, I won't be live streaming tonight, but I will be live streaming back tomorrow. Usual time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and you know how it goes. But if you're new, I talk about water soap operas, General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, Bold and Beautiful, and Young and Restless. So, yes, I will be live streaming tomorrow, I won't be live streaming tonight, but tomorrow's going to be fun. Tomorrow's going to be fun. I always sit there and say it's going to be fun just because I usually, I always have fun with these live streams. And it's always really fun to sit there and do it when I know I don't have to wake up super early in the morning. It's like, you know, it's like more of my attention is just on the live stream and not so much that they're thinking about what time I gotta wake up at God knows the time. But anyway, with that being said, I want to thank you for watching. I will sit there and see you in the next video, and tomorrow I will resume doing my live streams moving forward.